It's not big and it's not clever.
Yep, you definitely do. And yes, you can.
You can what?
You always ask.
Which part? Oh, can I press the button? Oh, yes. Duncan, can I press the button?
Yes, you can.
QVT. Yeah, love that. It's got a lovely little kind of South American vibe, isn't it? There's like, castanets and sunny climes, which we're all missing right now, dreadfully.
Tell me about it. It's I don't mind when it gets dark about 6 o'clock, or sorry, about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and now it's starting to get dark at 4, and you're going all the nights.
Everybody's caught up with us now. Fall back everywhere, isn't it? So wherever you look, it's dark. You wake up and it's dark, and you go, you sit down in the afternoon for a cup of coffee and it's dark. But we can play games and in sunny places, and it makes you feel, and we could be on the other side of the moon, of course, bringing it back to Luna, which is, it's always dark on the other side of the moon.
Yeah, on the dark side of the moon. That's
dark side of the moon.
That's a queer rabbit hole you're going down there.
It's a classic album, of course. Pink Floyd. Yes. How are you, Duncan? Great to see you, my friend.
I am awesome. What about you?
I'm awesome, but I've noticed that you only ever say I am awesome and then you throw it straight at me. Expand on your awesomeness. Why do you believe you are awesome, and should we believe you?
Should you believe me? Yes, I have actually sat down and actually had a good game time today. I have been playing a load of games. I have played a game which is coming to Luna shortly as a wee test in Watch Dogs Legions, and I have actually been enjoying that. I know other people may not have been enjoying that game.
No, experiences may vary.
Yes, but I have been really enjoying that. I've been just running about London, running people over and everything under the sun. But yeah, it
does have that to it. Yeah, we will touch on this because we're gonna expand on all things Ubisoft, shortly. And what else? So you've been playing Watch Dogs Legion
and what else have I been playing? I've been playing some Grid, which is on Luna, and I've also been playing my favorite in Slay the Spire, which it would be a perfect game to come to Luna. That is a card game where you can just chill out to, and it's one of your favorite types of games. It's a roguelike, so you hate them.
Yeah, I do hate those. No, you know me. I don't like the old Michael Finnegan begin again. That's not for me. I like to move on again. That's me, not begin again. But that's fair enough. All sorts, mate. Different strokes, which is one of my favorite shows. It takes different strokes to rule the world. There you go. Yes, well, I've been playing similar games to you, actually, although not the roguelikes, but I have been doing Watch Dogs Legion. Of course, we do a bit of Grid. We did a bit of Grid on Friday night on our community play-along that we'll be bringing to Luna at some point in the not-too-distant future, hopefully. And what else have I been playing? Oh, lots of Destiny as well. Making trying to finish everything off in time for the coming new season beyond Light on the 10th, and of course looking forward big time to Valhalla, which is now kind of 9 days and counting. Valhalla, so Assassin's Creed Valhalla, looking forward to that. And yes, eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that I am sans the beard. I've gone back to my baby face. There is a good reason for it. It's November, and there's a global charity called Movember, where men are supposed to grow a moustache for charity, and that charity is the Movember charity. And the idea is that all the money goes towards raising awareness for cancer in men, so prostate, testicular, sort of mainly, and also mental health awareness. So every year I shave off on the 31st of October and grow through the whole of November. So if you did fancy throwing a few coffers at that charity, there's a link on the screen there. For those of you listening to the podcast, it's bit.ly/men, MEN 911, men 911. That goes straight to the charity. None of it comes into my pocket. You'll be very pleased to hear. And I know there's not much to growing a beard, but I have to suffer the embarrassment of being naked from the nose down for a whole 4 weeks, and that's quite awkward and cold this time of the year as well. You feel it when you're out wandering around in the stormy British weather. So there you go. Thank you very much for that. And also, Dunk, while we are doing some housekeeping, I want to thank our amazing patrons and subscribers that has grown since the last time that we ran this little list. Along the bottom of the screen, you'll see, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in Twitch, there is a button where you can become a member. You can subscribe to us, and of course we also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/the Lunacast. That's Seatroot, Stadiumania, Wolock, Marchief, One to Escape, TW Cooks, Tresurrector, Songer, 2011, Tommy Danger, Ashes to Ashes TV, me, Duncan, Cloud Gaming Man, and Holtz. So thank you guys, as always, from the bottom of our hearts. Every single penny, when it arrives at some point next year, we estimate, will go to the show. None of it goes into buying games or pairs of Converse sneakers or anything along those lines. It all goes to the running and improvement of our channel. So thank you very much for that. Right, housekeeping.
Just one more thing for housekeeping, and if you're a Patreon, you would have got a little post this week as well, just explaining how things are all kicking off and that as well. So that's an added bonus if you do it on Patreon.
Yes, thank you. We wrote little blog posts, which we'll be doing a few of those and some videos and stuff, which you get as a member. So yeah, very, very kind, and thank you very much indeed. Duncan, what's been happening in the amazing world of Amazon Luna this week?
I think we should start off with the biggie. We'll go for the biggie to start off with.
Oh, yes.
So the Ubisoft channel is arriving on the 10th of November to Luna.
Yes.
And this is going to be big. We don't know how many games are going to be on it, but we do know Watch Dogs, Legion, and Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, will be there at launch. And these will be the super duper editions of the game. So we don't have to wait that much longer for a load of games coming to Luna. So
no, super duper exciting. Just to recap for those of you that may have forgotten, what you basically do is you subscribe over at Ubisoft.com to Ubisoft Plus, which is their new name for Uplay Plus. Now it's called the Ubisoft channel on Amazon Luna, but what you're actually doing is you're subscribing to Ubisoft Plus, and then it's within their channel on Luna. So it's and this is the best part as well, and I kind of theorized on this. I may even have mentioned it on this show, Dunk, but you basically pay one subscription, which I think is $15, and that gets you access to all the games that are in the Ubisoft Plus package, dependent upon the platform you're playing in, for no extra price. So, what you can subscribe today, for example, 9 days ahead of launch on Amazon Luna, and you can play Watch Dogs Legions on your PC, for example. And then on the 10th, and it opens up on Amazon Luna, you can open up Watch Dogs Legion again and not have to start all over, not pay any more money. It's literal cross-save, cross-play, cross-progression. So as you progress your character and go through the story in 9 days' time, you open it up on Amazon Luna and you're in the same place, which is fantastic. But of course, it's cloud It's cloud. That's the key difference. It's not just on your PC. It's suddenly on your iPhone, your iPad, your TV, or wherever you want to play it, on any device, which is amazing. Pay once, play anywhere. So outstanding. I've already subscribed. Me, Duncan, I don't know about your good self. I'm already getting stuck in, ready.
Yep, I have actually subscribed today. I've been playing it. I've been playing Watch Dogs Legions today, and it has been absolutely amazing. I have been playing on another cloud gaming service. I don't think I don't think it. Yeah,
Other services exist.
other services exist, but it is via Ubisoft Plus.
Ubisoft. Yep.
Yes, so I haven't paid for the full game. Absolutely, really, really loving it, and it's such great value. See, this is when I was actually sitting playing it. A thought occurred to me. If you buy stuff on Ubisoft Plus or on Ubisoft Connect, as it's called, which is the client, will that be transferred across? So, for example, if you buy a skin on Ubisoft Connect, do you think that's going to move between the different services?
100%. See, that's the thing, because there's two. I've watched some shows that have complained that in the rebranding it's all gone a bit complicated, but it's actually quite simple. Ubisoft Plus is the subscription-based service where you subscribe to their pot of games, and depending on where you play them will depend on how many have been ported. And as we've said before, some of the older PC-only games are not going to exist anywhere but PC. And on some of the newer cloud gaming platforms that don't adhere to the same development language as the original game, there may be fewer initially. But in the main, it'll be all their new games from now on, from Watch Dogs Legion and forward. And then on top of that, you have Ubisoft Connect. And that's the glue between all these services that remembers where your saves were, that remembers everything you've purchased, it remembers all your friends that you've played with. It's all that kind of stuff. And that's available from within all the games that are being released from Watch Dogs Legion. So when you play Watch Dogs right now, and you go to the main menu, there's a Ubisoft Connect button, and when you click on that, it expands a tab out, and in that tab you've got all your Ubisoft Connect stuff, all the details of your subscription and all the your saves and your friends and all the other malarkey, and that's going to be consistent through all the future games. So yeah, if it's certainly from Watch Dogs Legion forward, so Valhalla and Phoenix Rising and Far Cry 6, which unfortunately has been knocked back to next April. All of those future games will include your progression and your purchases. So it's a fantastic way forward. I'm excited that it's Ubisoft that are leading the market with this, because one, I think, when it comes to ethics, they've shown themselves to have fairly strong ones where gamers are concerned. I know they've been in trouble a little bit recently for some internal goings-ons, but certainly from a consumer perspective, I think they're one of the more ethical businesses, and they also happen to have one of the best back catalogs and one of the best existing set of IPs of intellectual property. So I'm super duper excited about that. Not as excited as you were about Watch Dogs Legion, I have to admit, having played that now for a couple of days. But I'm more excited about Valhalla and Phoenix Rising, to be fair, and Far Cry 6 when that finally turns up next year, alongside Rainbow Six Siege Quarantine, which has also been put back.
Yeah, I'll give my quick breakdown of Watch Dogs and what I have played on it. I am just really, really enjoying it. It just reminds me of like nearly a modern day Assassin's Creed, bar you can't jump up the buildings. I'm just going there. I'm just going.
Well, you can if you jump onto a drone.
or get them scissor lifts.
The scissor lifts, the cherry pickers.
Yeah, but I am I'm really enjoying it, and I'm going, should I get stuck into this more, or shall I wait till Valhalla because I'm a bigger Assassin's Creed fan? Or with Ubisoft Plus, it's just absolutely mad what all you can play, because the library is just so massive. That brings us to, do you think we're going to get the whole 50 games in one go?
No, and I also think that there's just one other thing that's worth pointing out. They have said, as far as Luna is concerned, it will be a beta of Ubisoft Plus. And the reason that they're saying that, I think, is because, of course, it's still in early access. So anything at all to do with Amazon Luna until it's no longer in early access has to be deemed a beta. It has to be, because otherwise it ain't going to fit in the whole early access space. And that also, there's also a question mark over what that means in terms of who will have access to those games on the 10th, because what they've actually said in their press release is that you have to, request to connect your account, your Ubisoft Plus account, to your Amazon Luna account. And I don't know right now whether that means that you have to have an existing early access account in order for that to happen. And although we did suggest last weekend that we would see a big increase in invitations going out this week, which exactly happened, I think within minutes of us saying it. In fact, there was a press release that said we're expanding them now. I know there'll be folk in the chat that say, well, I never got one. No, it's still going to mean it's a bit random, but they have started to expand on that. My guess is, though, you still won't be able to use or play in the Ubisoft channel until you have the early access invitation. In the future, when it's open to anybody to set up a free account, because, of course, you've got Amazon Luna, the free account, Amazon Luna Plus, the paid subscription account, and then you've got the channels, and all of those can live on their own. So you can have your free Amazon Luna account but have no free games, and you can have your Ubisoft channel and not subscribe to the other two if you don't want to. But at this moment in time, everything is beta stroke early access, which means you will need to have had that invite before you can dive in and chop up Vikings. That's as I see it from reading the various press releases.
Yeah, but you're going to have Luna before you can actually get into it. It won't be, if you've got Ubisoft Plus, you can just jump straight in for the foreseeable future. I think that's the best way. The shorter version, you go for the big, more complicated, explain everything down to the big detail. I go, no, but that's me. I'm just quick and straight to the point.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm just explaining as I read it, because I think I'd rather do that than people think, oh, great, on the 10th we could just jump straight in and play Valhalla in the cloud. But obviously the caveats are, no, you probably need to have an early access account, and of course you need to be in the United States, and even then not all states. So we know places like Hawaii, for example, it's not available. So it's just the caveats, that's all, just bearing it all in mind. But nonetheless, it's going to launch on the 10th. Your original question was, will it have all 50 games on launch? I think probably not, but certainly the more recent, I think what you will see is all the most recent of all the major franchises. So you'll see maybe the last couple of years of Assassin's Creeds, of Far Cry's, of Tom Clancy's Recon, of Division. I think you'll definitely see those. And that's not 50 anyway. I mean, even if you tot it up, I didn't realize how many Assassin's Creed variants there are. There was Assassin's Creed China and Russia. I'm thinking Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. What's that all about? What were they, DLCs or?
No, they were 2D versions of the game. So you actually,
right.
It was more platformy type games. So there were Assassin's Creed games, but there were like a different variation of them. Some people loved them, some people hated them. It was I thought they were okay, believe it or not. I wasn't a massive fan of them, but I didn't completely hate them. They were okay. It's something to pass the time with. But again, they would be a good call to go onto them, and basically all the old Assassin's Creed games on there. So it's pretty good sort of thing.
You can sort of understand publishers wanting to squeeze every last drop of revenue from a franchise, but I'm a little bit like that, because I know there were some weird offshoots of Tomb Raider as well, and you sort of, the trouble is you have it in your head what you believe an Assassin's Creed game will be, or what a Tomb Raider game or whatever will be, and then you go out and buy this thing and realize it's nothing like that. You sort of think, oh, it's all right, but it's not. Where's me Lara?
Yeah. I'm going to put something up here. Are you ready? Speculation. Go on.
Speculation.
And I listened to the Activision press briefing. There was lots of investor calls this week. I think we're going to be touching on that slightly later. And the Activision one actually had some interesting things in it. They were actually mentioning game streaming in it, and they were also talking about subscription models, and they weren't ruling both out. So it was the general thing where this is going to be a really exciting time for the industry, because you've got the new consoles, streaming, and mobile. So they actually put streaming in the middle of this. And they were also talking about subscriptions, and it wasn't, we are not going down to subscription models. It was putting a bit of a blanket on it, but it wasn't actually completely ruling that out. So I would not be surprised now if we maybe hear something about Activision coming to them maybe next year, depending on how things actually take off. And Treasurector is thinking they're going to go straight into Activision Cloud as well. You couldn't rule that out, because they are such a massive company. And it's like we've talked to about before, is with Amazon, you can actually rent out their cloud gaming stuff for private people to use. So that could actually be a possibility.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I mean, I think it's worth revisiting the Ubisoft model as well, because if other publishers look at what they've achieved, and, you know, on paper, I just know that people were saying, oh, there's no way it's going to be pay once. I remember them saying it in this very chat. There's no way it's going to be pay once and play anywhere. No, that doesn't stack up on a business model, they were saying. I begged to differ, and I've proved myself correct. And I think that you will see other publishers looking to do the same thing. It doesn't matter whether they have their own Activision cloud. It doesn't matter, because the key thing is that it's about how many people play their games and how many people pay to subscribe. So if you've got people who are very comfortable within the garden of Amazon Luna, within the walled garden of Amazon Luna, and it's a safe place, and they know it's a mark of quality, and there's a channel there, even if that channel exists elsewhere on a PC, for example, you could just go and access it. If they've only had to pay one subscription and play anywhere in the Ubisoft model, then there's every chance that they're going to stick with their controller in the space that they're comfortable with on their Amazon Fire Stick. That is, you know, it's all works a treat with their home entertainment setup. So I think that model that Ubisoft have struck, which is you pay us a subscription and then you can play our games across any platform you want to. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think that's Ubisoft's plan, that Ubisoft Plus will exist on every single gaming platform of note, including the big consoles, in time. And I can absolutely see the big publishers that have multiple franchises looking to make money the same way, because, as I've said before, if you're paying $15 a month, you know, that's getting on for nearly $200 a year, once you take everything into consideration. And yet most people only tend to buy one or two games from a single publisher every year. So it's actually more revenue for them to give you access to all their games than it is to just sell you one or two. So, you know, that's the model, and it absolutely works, and it works for consumers because you don't think so much about paying $15 a month. But if somebody says to you, actually, that's getting on to $200 a year or more, then you think twice, but nobody does because it's the smaller amount that you think about.
Yeah, it was like the point I was just making earlier on as well. With it being $15 a month, I'm actually more inclined to actually buy some DLC or whatever way we're going, additional content
Yes.
on top of that, because I know I'm not actually paying the full thing. So that's why I'm hoping that if you buy something on Ubisoft Connect, it's going to transfer to the cloud platforms as well. And you go here, I want to buy this amazing skin set. It's just going to be available on all the platforms going forward. And you would have to think it would be because it's doing cross save and. But I think we're just waiting for the 100% confirmation of that. But if it is, I could nearly, my gaming library could be basically just be the Ubisoft games going forward because I love them so much. I would sit back and replay the games and all that. I'm really excited about this going forward, and I think it is a big opportunity for other publishers to actually jump on board because I think there is a good chance to get longer tail in games, get more DLC, more everything under the sun, because I think people are going to be more willing to actually buy the extra stuff. It's as you know, me and Kelly have just started playing Fortnite a lot more, and we have actually done the naughty things and actually have bought skins and stuff in Fortnite because we're just having fun in the game. It's just if you're in playing the games more, you do actually drop more money in it, even if it's only stupid stuff. It's
designed that way, my friend.
It is designed. I feel like a sucker for actually doing it.
Well, they know the buttons to press, and I've said to you before, you know, I didn't write, sorry, I read an amazing academic paper, believe it or not, by a professor who specialized in gambling and how the brain works where gambling's concerned. And that man became very well known in the gaming industry, and particularly, obviously, within the gaming circles, gambling circles. But he was also brought in as a consultant advisor on Destiny by Bungie. And so a lot of the kind of looter-shooter stuff that Destiny started has permeated out into the rest of the industry. And it's based on solid gambling tactics used in all the big casinos. They know the buttons to press, the flashy lights, the I just want that one more go. Oh, I'm going to get this thing, and that's essentially and that's why a lot of the industry was had its knuckles rapped a couple of years back. And certain territories, I think like Hawaii and Belgium, for example, actually made it illegal to have that whole kind of loot economy. Because they knew that's, we all think we're under the free will and that, it's our decision to make. But actually, you are, a lot of buttons are being pressed to make you spend money there. And that's okay for you. You're a big, hairy faced adult. But a lot of those games are aimed at kids, and then they pressure their parents or they spend all their allowance and stuff. So it can get quite hairy out there. Yep. Two uses of the term.
Yeah, we've actually seen that this week as well with the case over, I think it is in Belgium you were talking about, with EA have now been fined many millions of dollars because of the gambling in FIFA, basically, as with the cards. FIFA. Yeah, because it is a gamble because you don't know what you're going to get.
It is, and it's those buttons. It's the same buttons that turn people into gamblers. It's the. There's a huge adrenal rush, big endorphin push for that. Am I going to win or lose? And the chances, the rewards could be massive, and a lot of people actually get off on losing as well, and it's really sad, because it is still a chemical rush. To go through all those different emotions. and gambling, and it's really sad to see that they've taken the essence of that and applied it with things like those FIFA cards, you know, where you get the card and my God, it's a massive golden explosion of light. And who have I got? Wow, look at the player I didn't know I had. Oh, everybody's going to think I'm amazing for having this piece of virtual nothingness. But Destiny did that to me. I spent 4,000 hours in Destiny and I'm still playing it today. You know, it can grab you. I mean, I'm not, I don't buy stuff. I don't buy virtual stuff because I've been in business for too many years and I'm as tight as they go. But nonetheless, it pulled me in for the hours. And I think at one point I would put my hand up and say I'd become addicted to that game.
Yep, I was as well. It was not to your levels, but it was. I'm going to go in here, have a quick strike, and out again. But then you do about 3 or 4 strikes in a row, or go out and just go around shooting things, because it's just for me it was such a relaxing game, just going around shooting things, even though it doesn't. So it's absolutely mad how some of these games were designed just to have the hook in you, just to go round and round and round. So yeah.
Particularly in a world where we're all worried, it's a stressful place that we're living in right now across the world. Whether it's because of the pandemic or whether it's the effect it may be having on the economy of your particular country or, your career or what have you. So you tend to turn more to escapism. Gaming is a massive escape for so many people. And then, of course, gets its hooks into you. So it's like everything in moderation. If you feel you're going that way, just take a break, go and take a walk, grab a book, go and talk to another human being. There are easy ways to break out of the cycle, but it is something that we all need to think about.
Yeah, that was some rabbit hole we went down there in the Ubisoft channel.
But it was a public service announcement. It was a PSA, mate. It's a proper meme. Yes. So let's move on from Ubisoft. But we're the basics of this story are it's coming on the 10th. Valhalla. There will be Watch Dogs Legion in there as well in the channel. You almost certainly need to have had your early access invitation, but that may change, and it may simply be that you just need to go and tell Ubisoft you want to play within Amazon Luna, and they give you some kind of access to it. I genuinely don't know. All I know is that it is in beta, and you need to connect your Amazon Luna account, which of course, if you don't have one, you can't do, which is why I think you will need to have that. But we shall see in 9 days' time. So it's Tuesday week, essentially, which is exciting. Yes, what else happened? What else happened this week, Duncan? We had some new games, didn't we?
We got 2 new games in the Castlevania Collection and Panzer Dragoon. They have both dropped on the Luna Plus this week, and so it's something. The games just keep on getting added onto Luna. That's 2 weeks, and there's 2 more games have just been added, and we're expecting more because the list actually had 72 games on it, and these were on it. So we definitely know there's more games coming, and we're going to get a big drop in a couple of weeks when Ubisoft, which we were just discussing there, comes on to the system. So yeah, 2 games, and I've got my thoughts on one. But
I played Panzer Dragoon, which I have to say, I know it's a remake of an older game, but again, if you like those kind of linear arcade shooters, it's a really lovely polished game. Not my personal thing, but I was super impressed with the quality of it. And again, horses for courses. That if you like those kind of arcade games, the sort of a polished Atari 2600 looking title, Panzer Dragoon definitely will scratch that itch. Castlevania Collection is actually quite a large set of games, isn't it?
It is indeed. I'm just going to double check how many games are in that. Research. But yeah, it's going through all the old Castlevania games. So I'm just double checking how many people are in that. Like, come on, it should be Castlevania, Castlevania 2, Castlevania 3, Super Castlevania, Castlevania the Adventure, Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge. So there was 2 Castlevanias there. Castlevania Bloodlines, Kid Dracula, and so that should keep people busy for a bit anyway.
8 or 9 titles in that pack. Wow. And again, a hugely popular IP. And it's what's great is these aren't games that no one's ever heard of that they're bringing to the pack. You know, these are solid games that appeal to a wide gamer base.
Yep, exactly. It's the Castle. Both of these games are going to appeal to probably the older gamers in the 80s, 90s.
I'm not in my 80s.
Who were brought up gaming in the 80s and 90s. You're going to hit the nostalgia sort of strings there, and it's going to pull everybody into to go there, because I want to get into the Castlevania one. Panzer Dragoon, I'm not a fan of that game.
No. Well, you know, you don't have to be, do you? That's the key thing.
Yes, and I think that's a lot of people need to realize. People are going to have different tastes in games. I'm going to put it out here. Me and you have got completely different tastes in Watch Dogs Legions.
Yeah, you love it, and I thought, I was disappointed because, and I may as well say why. Firstly, I felt that the actual characters were quite low level as far as 3D work goes. You know, bearing in mind that this is a title that has been, I know it's probably been in development for a few years. And one of the problems, I think, with, not a problem, one of the things with Ubisoft is they have so many different studios that are working on different titles that, you know, the original team that worked on, say, Watch Dogs 2, for example, will have moved from that to something completely different. Meanwhile, a few months later, they decide they'll start on Watch Dogs 3 and it will go to the next available team. It won't necessarily be the original team. And it didn't feel to me like, for example, the engine they were using was the same as Watch Dogs 2. The whole thing felt to me like a game from previous generation, not even current generation. And worse than that, coming from Britain, believe it or not, where obviously the game is based. It's based in London, and I've got an office in London. I've got relatives in London. I've spent a lot of time in London, and you know, although it looks like London, the people didn't feel like Londoners to me. And the acting, I wasn't particularly impressed with at all. I thought you could tell that there was maybe 10 or 15 actors that were then trying to, doing different voices and different characters. And I know that you can recruit a massive amount of characters, but there's a finite amount of accents and a finite amount of scripted words that those characters say. I know that because I've recruited 2 that both said the same thing to me with the same accent. So that was disappointing, and I'm struggling because I know it would be the same for somebody if they did a Watch Dogs Sydney, Australia. Australians would be saying, "Oh, that's nothing like Australians," and there has to be a level of cliche because for accessibility. They have to be obviously not too strong accents, and people have to somehow connect up with it. So for me, it was just, I was hoping for something as good as Watch Dogs 2. I know that I can play Watch Dogs 2 today. In fact, I tell you something, if I'd never played Watch Dogs 2 and you put a sticker over it and said, this is the newest one and Watch Dogs Legion is the previous one, I'd absolutely believe you, because that's how it feels to me. It feels like Watch Dogs 2 is actually the cleaner, more polished game versus Watch Dogs Legion. That's just my opinion.
Yep. I think Ubisoft has the thing where they get the games out and then they fix them when they get out there, sort of thing. It's so yeah. I'm actually enjoying it, and I think there's going to be long legs on Watch Dogs Legion because of the expansions which have already announced. I'm looking forward to the Assassin's Creed one. So it's
Yeah, oh yeah,
but I, but I,
absolutely.
but I am actually enjoying it. So
My
it's
I played it. I played it. To be fair, I've played more of it with my youngest, who's not as young as you think. I mean, she's 17, and she's a big GTA fan, and she loved it. And she also, I mean, she has big holiday memories of going to London. So so to be able to take her up on the London Eye, which is called the Millennium Wheel in the game, which is what it used to be called, and then to go around Buckingham Palace and all these different Covent Garden, all these places that we've always visited with them as kids. She's loving that side to it, and she's loving the just zipping around in London and jumping on a drone and flying around and all that stuff. So she's taken on my account, and that's fine. I'm absolutely all about Valhalla now, and we've all played the demo of Phoenix Rising, which I loved. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so those are the two big games for me moving forward. But it's the point. This is the point, Dunk, isn't it? You pay your Ubisoft Plus subscription, and then you go in and you try the games out. And if you think, oh, I'm glad I didn't pay for that, it's not really tickling my trout, but I'm really liking this weird game over here that I'd never even heard of. That's the beauty of having access to 50 to 100 games, many of which you've never played before. And that's the thing I love about a subscription like this. It allows you to try it. And if it's not for you, you don't feel hard done by. I've bought games this year like Marvel Avengers, for example, and Doom Eternal, both of which I wish I'd cashed in and got my money back, because although I've played them both, I completed Avengers, I've not played them since, and I wasn't that impressed with them the first time around. But, I paid for it. It's gone beyond the time I could take it back. Whereas with a subscription, that's fine. You don't like it, you play something else.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm really excited about when Luna comes out, and it's going to be out for everybody, because it's going to just allow everybody to play all the games they want to. So, and it's going to actually, I think, widen people's perspectives in games, because you're going to be able to actually play games like you've never played before. And that's one of the great things about cloud gaming, is it is just going to just change the way people play games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. We've seen this year has been a very odd year in many ways, but from the perspective of gamers, it's been one of the best years ever. The whole thing is flipping towards the consumer. And of course, cloud gaming is just literally democratizing gaming for all. You're no longer connected and hooked and tied in to hardware, and playing games at a quality that is absolutely unimaginable. The people that obviously that have been lucky enough to have early access have all said if they've got a half-decent internet connection, which is the driver for everybody, that the experience has blown them away. High quality, great games, give me more. And that's the beauty of cloud gaming.
Exactly, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. And when we start doing our streams on here, we don't have to worry about, does this person have this game, does this other person, because everybody will have access to the games if they're subscribed to one of the channels. And I would say most of our play-alongs are going to be through the Luna Plus sort of thing, so anybody can join in when the multiplayer all kicks off. So I just can't wait for all this to happen.
I know. We say it every week. We're so excited. We're like a couple of Christmas kids. We really are with cloud gaming. So there you go. There's more games. And they said there'd be more added all the time. We know that there are now 52 with these two, and we know that there are at least another 20 in the wings that are due to be rolled out through early access. So it's all looking absolutely amazing for early access players, right? Family sharing.
Yep, and screen sharing. basically, Ashes to Ashes, who's a good friend of the show, was actually demonstrating how the family sharing. He actually brought up a screen where he was playing along, and his child was playing along with them as well, but on playing two separate games on the one Luna account, or sorry, one Luna membership, and it was working absolutely magical for him. So it was that first part, and the second part was screen sharing, which was he just demonstrated how you can go from each screen by just using you can change screens and you don't actually have to sync up the controller. So he was playing on the PC, then he flicked it to his phone, and he didn't have to worry about the screens going backwards and forwards, or sorry, hooking it up. So what's your take on about the family share and working from the work and the controller thing?
Funnily enough, it's the one thing that is missing with Ubisoft. And I wanted it because, as I've just mentioned, my daughter absolutely enjoying playing on Legions, and I said, you know what, let's see if you can have a family sharing account. You can play your own account, but you can't. And it's missing in so many different places. But the fact that it isn't missing in Luna Plus is a massive plus. And as you rightly said, it appears to be incredibly easy. It's just a no-brainer. You just create a name for the additional family member. You can only have one at the moment, so but one is better than none, which is the case in other places.
No, you can actually have more than one user under the account, but only two can stream at the same time.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. No, thanks for the clarity. That's absolutely right. So yes, you could have the whole family, but only two of you. But still, that's one more than in a lot of other places, and that's my point, really. So yeah, the fact that you can do it and that it is so easy, and you can manage the PEGI ratings as well for members of your family. So if you've got a couple of younger children, you can, it doesn't matter if they're going to share or have it, you can set them that they can't play any of the games above a certain level, whether that's 7+, 15+, is up to you, which I think is great. And the ability to go from screen to screen, device to device, is, it's seamless. As you rightly said, it's instantaneous. I've had enough on that one. I'm firing up on this one now. And then the family can crack on and watch, Ghostbusters on Netflix or whatever it is that we did last night. We did pay, and we watched the 2016 version, which for all of its knocking, I really enjoyed. I thought it was a good take on the Ghostbusters theme. Hope you all had a great Halloween, by the way, within limitations. So yeah, I think those two things are absolutely fantastic. And it's this democratization of gaming, that you're not constrained. It's about playing the game with who you want, where you want, and when you want. And that's the mantra.
Exactly. That's what I'm really looking forward to. As I said, my partner has been a bit, we'll put this delicately, a bit burned out on some things, cloud gaming related, and she wasn't actually going to want to get involved with Luna. But because of the family sharing, she's completely on board now, because she doesn't have to do anything now, which is such a major and big thing going forward, especially being able to play the same games at the same time. I don't think this can be underestimated, how this could actually really help people going forward. And when Luna's really rolled out, this is going to explode their player base, and it's really exciting to actually see that. And I'm hoping we're going to get more clarity on some of the other things. The question I'm going to have about the family sharing is, can 3 people play at the same time? As one person's on the Ubisoft channel and then 2 people all on the Luna Plus channel, or is it 2 people per account at one time? There's that question really needs to be answered.
That's a really good question. I'm going to go speculation. I think yes. I think that the limitation, because if you remember, they said up to 2 people can play on Luna Plus at the same time, but only 1 on the Ubisoft channel. So they've already separated the two out from that respect. So my guess is that, again, the Ubisoft channel is basically renting some space within the Luna Plus market, which is this analogy that I've used in the past. They've got a stall and they're paying for their stall, and the rules of the market are you can do whatever you want. It's your stall as long as you don't get up to naughty things or take over somebody else's space. So I think as long as you have an account with Ubisoft, the Ubisoft Plus account, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to play your game on a device whilst two other people are playing the Luna Plus games, which are confined to 2 players only. But that is speculation.
Yeah, that would be my reading of it as well, because I think they are going to be tied to 2 different places at once. But it's just going to be interesting to see if we can actually get that tested when they come out, or if Amazon is going to come out and just basically confirm that one way or another. So if that happens, that could be really good news going forward when these other channels launch. If they're only one player or one person, if they Magical Activision channel comes, one of you could be playing on Activision, one of you could be playing on Ubisoft, and then the 2 kids could be playing on Luna Plus. That would be really, really great going forward.
Yeah.
And I think,
it would be.
And again, it might actually encourage people to actually check out more channels as well.
Totally, absolutely agree. I think, I can't see. If you imagine a scenario in a year's time, Duncan, that there are maybe 5 different partner channels within the Amazon Luna marketplace, I can't believe for 1 minute that they're going to say to you, I'm sorry, but you can't play in the Activision channel because somebody else is playing a game in the Ubisoft channel. I can't see that being the case. I think each of those will be their own entity, and the limitation will purely be with Luna Plus. In terms of that family sharing aspect. And it may well be that some of the other channels have a more liberal approach to the family sharing. It may be that they say, no, we don't mind if you've got 4 people playing at the same time with our channel. And that's them's the rules of our channel. So, lots of questions, as you rightly said. We are, this is speculation. But just logic tells me that that's the most likely thing. Also, talking about games and the amount of games, there were a couple of earnings calls this week coming up, of course, as it is to the 4th quarter, and Amazon had one, and they mentioned Amazon Luna. There wasn't much in it, I have to say. It purely said, we're excited to announce that with this millions of other things that they'd launched as well, that we've launched this new gaming service as well, cloud gaming service called Luna and Luna Plus. And it told us everything we knew. But there was confirmation of the 100 games again, wasn't there?
Yes, I'm muted. I'm actually trying to share the screen there. When I was sharing
Sorry,
the screen there,
sorry. I would have given you more time to press your buttons. It didn't say a great deal. I mean, it's literally the standard press release in essence. But it just confirmed. Where are we? Players will have access to more than 100 games through the Luna Plus game channel and Ubisoft channel, with more games to come. So I suppose, again, it's semantics, isn't it? Are they saying 100 games with Luna Plus and Ubisoft? Or are they saying 100 games through Luna Plus? And there's also a Ubisoft channel. I think there will be, by the time it goes to official launch, there will be 100 games in Luna Plus anyway, because we know of another 20 odd to come. So it's only a hop, skip, and a jump. The 18 titles, and you're there, aren't you? So I think and also there's a Ubisoft channel with their own games, and it says with more games to come. I mean, it's the very, very first words.
Yes, well, I'm going to take a slightly different tact in this. I'm going to read a bit more into this. They are actually out there boasting, or not boasting, they're coming out here. We are backing this to the hilt, and we are talking about this. We want people to come on board, and they're not hiding it away in their earnings and their notifications somewhere else. This is bang, we are doing this, and it is coming there. So I'm expecting maybe see lots of Amazon Luna stuff going forward in their earnings calls, and I'm hoping we may hear about more studios and things coming on board with Luna, either by acquisition or just more channels shortly. So I think Amazon are backing this to the hilt.
No, I agree. And confirmation to an extent is that we saw other cloud gaming platform. We saw other companies that own cloud gaming platforms equally having their earnings call this week and not mentioning their cloud gaming platform at all, which was disconcerting. So as you say, this is, in fairness, though, and fairness is my middle name, as you know. Thank you, Mum. In fairness, this, other platforms have been around a little longer, and this is the first time that Amazon have had a chance to mention to shareholders that they've launched this service, whereas others would have said it some time ago when they launched their service. So I don't, that's not one to specifically read a great deal into, I would say, but it's great nonetheless to see it mentioned and shareholders getting all excited. I would love to have seen something else in there that we didn't know about. For example, mentioning if or how they're going to connect it to Prime would have been useful. And as a shareholder, that's something I'd like to know. It's great to see that you've launched this cloud gaming service, Jeff, but where are you taking it after launch? Where are you seeing the revenues coming from? Are you looking to enmesh it into existing channels and so on? I would love to have seen a bit more of that. But I guess they're keeping a lot of their powder dry on that one right now.
Exactly, they are. I think the next one's going to be telling. I'm just rereading through this Amazon one again, but they do mention a lot of their programs going forward. So I'm hoping that then with the next one, we will have a bit more information going forward, because they do talk about all their different bits and bobs. And if anybody is wondering where Amazon Luna falls under, it's under Amazon Devices and Alexa. That's what it's not under AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. It's actually under the Devices and Alexa heading. So
yeah,
I think
good point.
That's just something to keep an eye on going forward.
Good point. No, it is. It's interesting how they seem to have hooked it into the hardware for something that is notoriously hardware free. And all they have for that is the controller, which is an amazing controller by all accounts. But I suppose they had to hang it somewhere. It's going to develop. I'm sure they've got massive plans once it's out of early access. For this week coming up, Duncan, speculation time. What do you think we may have to talk about this time next week?
I'm going to put my neck on the line and say we will get more beta announcements, and I think that's going to be about it. I think it's going to be a quiet week, unless they come Friday, they're going to start whipping up about Ubisoft Plus during the lead up to the following week. But I'm expecting maybe a quieter that week, because there's going to be a hell of a lot of noise next week, or this week, whatever way you want to talk about, with the new consoles launching, because there's going to be all the embargoes are going to be coming down. We're going to find out about the games, and I may have heard that embargoes for a couple of the games are later on this week as well. So I think it's going to be maybe a bit of a quieter week.
We've said that before, of course, and then it's exploded. When you say more betas, do you mean more invites going out? So,
more invites in the beta, just to try and get some more momentum going in the build up the Ubisoft channel launching. So that would be my guess, and I think we're probably going to hear that maybe more end of the week, maybe Thursday or Friday, just to build up until the following Tuesday's launch of it.
I think that's a good shout. I'd agree with that. I think that they will want to exponentially increase the amount of early accesses. I think it was last week that I said that I felt the first couple of weeks would always be quiet because they were aiming it at those that had the biggest connections and were maybe streamers or journalists and could make a big noise, a big positive noise about the service. And then we would see them rolling it out to other folk. And that's exactly what happened this week. You know, there was a big thing about, I think it was Twitter, Amazon Luna on Twitter said we just released a whole bunch more invites, and I expect to see that maybe 4 times as aggressive this week, leading up, as you rightly said, to Ubisoft channel, because it's important to Ubisoft that, you know, they're launching the channel on Tuesday week with Valhalla. It's important for them to be able to advertise the fact that you can now play it in Amazon Luna as well. And they don't want to have to drag a ball and chain behind them saying, however, you need early access and nobody's got it yet. So, you know, I can see that widening out quite a lot this coming week, as you rightly said.
Yeah, I'm expecting, we'll go for the, where we have to get this right up here.
Speculation.
When the I'm just going to call it out here, when the other cloud gaming service Stadia gets the Ubisoft Plus, or sorry, Ubisoft Plus,
Ubisoft Plus, yeah.
I have to. I'm so used to calling Uplay Plus.
I know. I just find Ubisoft Plus easier, so I'm quite happy.
When Ubisoft Plus gets announced for the other platform, I can see Luna's invites basically become a free-for-all. Anybody can jump into it, especially as we're led to believe there's going to be a lot more games on Luna rather than Stadia to play.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of it, as I say, was throttled in the first few weeks so that the first exposure on social media and the press was the best possible positive response, given that they limited it to people with very good connections, probably were quite close to their data points, their nodes, and possibly also had existing channels on Twitch or YouTube or wherever. And I think that's perfect. I think that's the right thing to do from a business perspective. You don't want to throw it out to everybody and have 2/3 of people going, well, I found it was rubbish. And then turns out they have like a 1 meg connection in a block of flats, you know, an apartment building with 100 people all trying to get that 1 meg to work on their system. You know, you have to be a little cleverer than that, which is what they've done. I think that was the right thing to do. But I think now you'll start to see that widening out. And if I was Ubisoft, I'd be saying, look, you know, come on, guys, open it out here. We're about to launch our platform and we need a decent amount of you know, we need people to access it. Otherwise, we're likely to not. They're likely to not access it at all, and that's not what anybody wants. So yeah, I think that's going to come this week. Games wise, do you think we'll see some more games rolled out this week?
I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see games regularly go on the system. I think I wouldn't be surprised if a couple more games drop. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe get like a game or 2 a week going forward now, because
makes sense.
As we know, it seems to be a hell of a lot easier to get games onto Luna, where they can just go, there you go, work away.
Load the disc and copy.
Yeah. Just do some tweaking there, here and there, and get it on there.
It's not quite as simple as that, but you're right. It's a lot. It's relatively easy in comparison to some other platforms.
I think the money they're going to make is going to be a lot more than what it's going to be to actually get it onto the system. So I'm expecting a game or 2 a week. Since we've seen last week that they have started, I wouldn't be surprised, but we'll maybe get one, maybe 2 more, and you've got some big ones still to drop into this. 2 Point Hospital, I'm really wanting to see that on it, because that is a real good game, and I think a lot of people will be really happy with that one.
That's going to be good. Right, I think we should wrap up, because it's cold. We need to be, we're getting on in life, mate. We don't want to be going down with pneumonia, hypothermia. It's the last thing you want. Plus, it's getting into we've gone beyond the top of the hour, and these good folk have lives to lead. So, Duncan, as is the tradition, where can people find you?
At One to Escape on Twitter. And where can they find you, young Rokk?
They can find me at Cloud Rocks on Twitter, and they can find me at the Lunacast on Twitter, and of course here twice a week.
Yes, indeed. So you can hit the button there, and if anybody wants to stay around after, we're more than happy to answer any questions at all.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. As always, we will be hanging around for a few minutes after to answer been some questions in the chat, which would be great to pick up on. We'll do that with absolute pleasure. And as always, we will see you Thursday this time for Lunacast Game Quest. We may even do maybe a little bit of a stream of Legion. We'll see. We'll see. And then, of course, next Sunday for episode 6, I think, of the Lunacast. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining us. Have a great week and take care. Say goodbye, Duncan.
Goodbye, Duncan.